Namo Fudobos. Namo Fudobos. Namo Fudobosa. Let us celebrate the liturgy of the day. Let us share the peace. May all beings awaken to that peace which is our true home. Let us take refuge. I take refuge in the ground of being within which I live and move and breathe. Let us make the accord. I take sanctuary in the heart of being, accepting all of my delusions in thought, word, or deed, born of ignorance, hatred, and greed. Let us give thanks. I give thanks for all things, awakening to the interbeing of all nature. May my heart be open and my mind clear. May all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And may all come to know that peace which is beyond all understanding. Since it is the practice of enlightenment, that practice has no beginning. And since it is enlightenment within the practice, that realization has no end. I'm going to be continuing the talks, the fourth or last talk in our series between my brother Osho Brad and myself of walking through the four divine abidings or awakened abodes, the Brahma Viharas. This last one is on joy. So we of course, Brad started talking about metta or loving kindness, and then I talked about equanimity or peka. Brad talked last week about karuna, or compassion, and I'll be talking about joy or mudita. And I thought going into this talk that this would be a real easy one to talk about because just this past weekend we got to celebrate something really, really, really cool in my life, which was my son had a major role in his high school musical, and they had 5 performances over between Thursday through Sunday, and my wife and I and my family and all sorts of folks and people we know and friends got to celebrate watching him be him. I mean, that's really what it was. You know, sure, he's playing a role and he's singing songs, but it was him being the person he most wants to be in this big, crazy, loud spectacle kind of way, and it was awesome. And I just assumed going into it, I was like, well, it'll be easy to talk about joy next week, because it was pure joy watching him. But at the close of the last performance, you know, after all the craziness, you know, you go out to lobby and all the kids that are in the production are hugging everybody and going crazy, and there's pictures, and of course our son is like, like a bumblebee, and it was, which also is like pure joy watching him get to celebrate, that they did this incredible job, and it was super duper cool, and the show was great, and the talent, oh my goodness, like it just blows me away what kids can do. I don't remember kids in high school, when I was in high school, being able to do what they can do today. Maybe we could, didn't feel that way. But then at some point we hugged them real hard goodbye, and we left. We went out to the car, and that was it. And my wife and I, all the relatives had gone their separate ways. The friends had gone their separate ways. Our son had a cast party and stuff and striking the set. So it was just my wife and I. And the car ride home, and then, pretty much that whole night and, much of the next day, it felt like grief. To just cut right to the chase. It was over, and this period of his life of growing up, and I'm gonna stick with this recording because we're pretending like there's a real Sangha here. We're gonna have that coming up, so I'm not redoing it. My wife said to me, "Wow, that's the last High School Musical. That's it." And it's not just the last High School Musical. It's he's going to college. He's moving away. This period of our role in this way with our son is going to change. I'm mindfully choosing not to say the word ending, that it is changing. And it was tough. Yeah, I want my son to watch all my Dharma talks, and, if he wants. But I kind of don't want him to know that behind the scenes, his mom and I are like, wow, what an end. What a change. And all of a sudden that joy that was so profound during the period, the excitement up to the performances, and then having the performances, changed to something else. And in preparing for this, I felt like, wow, well, I guess that threw out my whole it'll be easy to talk about joy. How can joy come to transition so quickly to something so profoundly sad, or feeling sad? And it dawned on me, and sort of mindfully working it out, using the tools that we have here, right? That we teach here, that I teach. If there's ever any thought that Buddhist priest or Buddhist of any kind, be it little Buddhist priest in central Pennsylvania, or the Dalai Lama, or Thich Nhat Hanh, or the Buddha himself, if there's ever any thought that just equates to no more suffering, then allow me to elucidate. It doesn't mean that. The first noble truth is humans suffer, and as long as I'm a human, I'm going to suffer. As long as any of us, anyone, no matter who they are, no matter what role they have, no matter what robes they put on, it means suffering will continue. And the tools we use to mindfulness, meditation, any of the noble eightfold path, the way we see the world, or the way our intent, or the kind of work we do, the actions of speech, it's all about being able to experience these moments of suffering and do something with them. Do something clear about them. So in doing that, it dawned on me that the whole thing, experiencing the performances and going through them with him, and then experiencing this profound sort of sadness, was very much like, it felt very much like that metaphor for being in the middle of a river, facing upstream, upriver, up torrent, right? And that life is like that, just stuff coming at you, and I'm in the river and I'm fighting the stream coming at me, and some of it's really good and I welcome it, like performances of my son, and I get to do him stuff, and then some of it comes immediately afterward and it's not joyful. It's rough, and it's grief, and it's these thoughts of an end of an era, and what are we going to do with ourselves now, and all that kind of stuff. What is life going to be for us? All that kind of stuff. And I realize, when that being in the middle of the river is very much like how most normal life feels for I'm sure many of us. And as these things come, or like, my role as a dad to a kid who lived here, for coming on 18 years, I am attached to it. And he's going downstream, right? Like but I'm not letting go. I'm using every ounce of strength I have to not let go of that change, right? And so what can I do about it? And thinking about these 4 awakened abodes provided some relief, because, of course, I mentioned before when I was talking about equanimity that they come from a place of wisdom. They come from a place of clarity or right seeing. And that if I can find that inner peace in seeing things clearly, then love will awaken. And out of love, joy will exist, but without attachment, without a need to hold on to it, because I'm no longer getting something from that attachment, right? In fact, I'm getting pain from that attachment. I'm getting suffering from that attachment. So I can experience the joy of witnessing him do his thing and be him. And I can also then find room for compassion to come in for my wife, for myself, to see the suffering and recognize that was inevitable. I don't know how I didn't see it. How did I not see that coming? But I didn't see it coming. I just was only thinking of the joy, and so it hit me like a fist to the jaw. And I realized that then these 4 awakened abodes, no surprise here, are every bit as connected as everything is. That they're all interconnected. That I only find the real joy of it when I can see it clearly. And how do I see it clearly? I get out of the middle of the river. I can make my way over to the shore. The moment I can get over to the shore, and now I'm not subject to the river as it's coming my way, I can see the whole thing. I can see the flow of the whole thing. I can see what brought my son to that performance, and my part in it, my wife's part in it, and all of our part in it. I can see his grandparents and their grandparents, building up to this moment. I can see the performance go downstream. But I can also realize that for him and for his life, the river is still running. There's like life that is coming, that this idea of an ending is only seeing like one slice of it, one cut of it, that it truly is just a change, that nothing is ever really an ending. Everything is interconnected, that the suffering we experience is temporary. Just as the joy of the performances was temporary, right? The happiness, the pleasure of it, if you attach to them, then they become those 8 worldly winds that we talked about a month ago or so, right? But the moment I can experience it loosely, holding it loosely, recognizing that it's going to flow away, and being grateful for it as it's here, the sooner I can experience the peace of knowing that this is how it is. This is how life not only has to be, but this is how it should be, right? It helps me to recognize, standing on the shore out of the river, that I'm not some tiny little thing subject to the flow of the river and the luck of what it sends my way. But I'm not some stick getting battered by the torrent. But in seeing it, I see that I am the river. I am the whole thing itself. I am the things that were connected there that I get to experience. I am this profound, spacious being that gets to watch these things and gets to experience them. And in seeing the whole story, sort of the fear of needing to hold on to it, sort of, I'm able to let it go. Because in letting go of my son's role as my son in the house is the very thing that allows him to go do the next awesome thing, right? Like, the letting go is part of it. For me too. When I see it clearly, it removes the delusion. It removes the attachment from the experience. I'm no longer tied to one single moment in the river. I can see it sort of more clearly. I can see it as one. And all I'm left with is a profound feeling of love for him, for my wife, for everyone who also had kids who might be suffering. I mean, that love awakens right to compassion for all the other parents who probably were experiencing the same thing. And I'm allowed to be helpful, be hopeful for the future, and be grateful for the moment that we got to experience it without needing to feel like who I am is somehow fundamentally damaged, because the river's never damaged. The flow is the flow. I'm that. I'm not the thing that gets pushed around by it. I can help Brad, I thought, in his talk last week, he had walked through a sending and receiving of compassion, a Tonglen. And I thought, similarly, with joy, the one of the immediate effects of joy is gratitude, right? Just like one of the immediate effects of compassion is hopefulness, right? That as we know things change, that change is, in oneness, change is forever, and change is always an opportunity for something new to be born, right? And that in compassion, we're hopeful for suffering to end and for some relief to come. And in joy, we're grateful because we know that this is temporary, and that we are able to let it go. So in a similar way, I'd like to walk through a quick similar exercise or meditation with gratitude as the basis for these moments where maybe it's not so readily available to myself or to others, and somehow I can remind myself mindfully of my connections to everything, to this radical notion of who I am as not being some little stick in the river that's getting beaten up, but this notion that I am fundamentally the whole thing. And so, with gratitude, I remember the people, the animals, the people who've come before, the insects, every creature, the sun, the ground, the water, that blesses my life every day, that without it there would be no me. With gratitude, I remember the care and work of every generation, of every person that came before and has led to this very moment and this very opportunity. I offer my gratitude for the safety and well-being of all beings. I offer my gratitude for the measures of health that I have been given and for all beings. I offer gratitude for my friends and family and community, my Sangha, my friends, and how fortunate I am to have them in my life. I offer my gratitude for the teachings and lessons that have helped me to find clarity, and I offer them to all beings. I offer my gratitude for the life that I've been blessed with and for the life of all beings. The moment we receive true and trusting, solid and clear like a diamond, infinite light and life embrace and protect us, liberating us completely. Let us take the 4 immeasurable vows. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to liberate them. Delusions are endless. I vow to end them. The ways of compassion and wisdom are boundless. I vow to embody them. The way is unattainable. I vow to attain it. Let us take the precepts for the community of the Bodhisattva's vow. I allow my true self to manifest in all aspects of life. I take complete responsibility for my own life and all of my actions. I affirm my personal being and acknowledge it as a path to awakening and freedom. I embrace all aspects of my personal being, including my shadow, so that they may be transformed. I affirm an attitude of openness to my true self, even in the midst of suffering. As we prepare to start meeting together in person, we'll continue this service with the chanting of the Nambutsu. Feel free at this time to offer incense if you are at your own home altar. And then we'll follow up with a brief period of zazen or silent meditation, abiding. I'll keep it, since we are still in video, I'll keep it pretty short. Remembering that we never practice alone or merely for ourselves, let us offer the merits of our practice by reciting the Bodhisattva's Gatha. We dedicate this practice to the welfare of all beings throughout space and time. May it be so. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. This concludes our service this week. Please remember, if you are suffering yourself or need any help whatsoever, please reach out to us. We're always here to help. If you're interested in studying or deepening your understanding of Buddhism or your own practice, to reach out. We are here to help and serve.